Hello, good evening. It is Good Friday. Happy celebrations and welcome to WBS Prime News Live. But first, let's have a look at what's coming up tonight. The Way of the Cross tonight marks the end of the Lent period.
The access routes that go through Kyambogo University to the neighborhood shall strictly be controlled.
Kyambogo University tops the list of targeted higher institutions of learning by terrorists.
Four DPCs were directed to repair. They did it.
Shocking report reveals government spends 100 billion annually on repair of government-abused vehicles. And in sports, Middlesbrough back to the top of the championship table and left Wigan stuck in relegation trouble. I am Anita Mwangazi. Welcome. Namirembe Diocese Bishop Dr. Wilberforce Lualira says the state should focus on transforming the education sector to make it all-inclusive instead of making quality education a preserve for the rich. Speaking during the Way of the Cross processions, the bishop also said a special prayer for traders of Chiseka Market, urging them to look to the Lord for solace over the afflictions they have suffered over the years.
Journey in the memory of what Christ went through on his way to Calvary before he was crucified. For Christians at Namirembe, it was a walk that started from the cathedral and headed to the old Kampala area, with Namirembe Diocese Bishop Dr. Wilberforce Lualira leading the way. The procession then headed to St. Matia Mulumba Catholic Church in Old Kampala, where the faithful were waiting to welcome their fellow Christians. From here, the group marched and headed to Chiseka Market, where Bishop Lualira delivered his Easter message.
Buli lunaku mulaba ebibeewuunyisa, mulaba ebibasanyusa, ate mulaba n'ebibakanga. Naye njagala okwegayirira, kolerera emirembe n'obumu mu bantu b'olimu, kubanga ebyo bye bimu ku byaleeta Yesu mu nsi n'awaayo omuwendo olw'obulamu bwaffe. Ng'okola emirimu gyo, togezaako kukola bya bukuusa, togezaako kukola bya bufere, kola ebyo ebireeta emirembe.
The team then headed to the War Memorial Stadium Nakivubo, where they joined other Christians in a joint service conducted by clergy from the different churches under the Uganda Joint Christian Council. Sabit Joseph, WBS Television.
Now from the Way of the Cross procession, we head to Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium, where all the believers converged, irrespective of their denominations, as one people. Our reporter John Lule was at the War Memorial Stadium as different religious leaders led the lambs of God to the stadium to mark the end of the Lent period on this Good Friday. We now bring you the highlights.
Clad in their holy robes, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga from the Catholic Church led his flock to the War Memorial Stadium at Nakivubo. The Anglican Bishop, Right Reverend Stanley Ntagali from the Anglican domination too led his procession, and many others, including the Orthodox leader. However, here at the War Memorial Stadium, it was a somber mood, and the moment started with a moment of silence in memory of the fallen Kenyan students who were gunned down by the merciless Al-Shabaab militia group. The theme of the day's Way of the Cross here at the stadium was make every effort to preserve the unity of the spirit through the bond of peace. In reference to this, Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, who was the main celebrant, appealed to believers to keep peace everywhere, be it with their families.
Each of the fingers we use has a message of peace. The first finger is facing where? Guru, which means what? Heaven. So let us promote peace with God our Father by obeying His word, by obeying His commandments, and being peaceful with Him.
In his sermon, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Luanga appealed to the executive to fasten the process for the legislature to start making electoral reforms to enable free and fair 2016 elections take place.
For that reason, we as UJCC call upon those responsible to table the bills for electoral reforms in Parliament, since we are now approaching 2016 and the government should table these bills as soon as possible.
He also said that if the country is to fight corruption, those involved should make a reflection on the country's motto, for God and my country. In response to the rampant murders in the country, the man of God called on Parliament to enact an arms treaty, which he thinks will go a long way to address the problem.
Katoliki, Protestant, na Orthodox hapa Uganda.
In other news, police and other security organs are warning Kyambogo University and other institutions of higher learning of being potential targets this Easter season. An intelligence dossier shared with Residence District Commissioner and Parish Internal Security Organizations singled out Kyambogo University as the prime target.
As tensions continues to merge in the East African region, terrorists have resorted to attacking innocent students both at preliminary education and at the institutes of higher learning. This is in reference to what occurred in the neighboring Kenya last evening. Innocent students lost their lives, up to 147 at the hands of elusive Al-Shabaab terror militia groups who attacked the Garissa University. The same applies to Uganda, which according to intelligence feelers is now a potential target.
It may not necessarily be uniform monitoring teams, so we shall have our intelligence organs also going in to cross-check, because most of the times these people who are searching, whenever they see me I'm in uniform, they tend to step up, but when they see him they may not necessarily know. So we are going to have so many monitoring teams, and even you the press can help us in monitoring what is happening so that you give us feedback and we rectify those errors.
The head of the Security Council of the Kampala Central, Aisha Kabanda, who doubles as the RCC of Kampala Central, says several meetings have been held with different security agencies in reference to reports that Kyambogo University is one of the prime targets of terrorists should they make an attempt on Kampala. She notes that a security survey of the university reveals that neither the varsity has a permanent entrance nor exit, and this to security experts is worrying.
The access routes that go through Kyambogo University to the neighborhood shall strictly be controlled, prohibiting passage of taxis and borders. Public transport providers are advised to use alternative routes.
The warning as well goes to other universities across the country to be more conscious. However, she's optimistic that police together with other security organs are doing everything to have a mass deployment of intelligence units to help scare away the terrorists.
Higher learning institutions are expected also to observe those guidelines, strict checking of people and vehicles. But over and above that, the Securities Committee directs that all access routes be strictly controlled. This control includes prohibiting passage of public vehicles and motorcycles that simply go through the institution. Particularly, Kyambogo University is highlighted.
Our deployments are both covert and overt, and it's countrywide. But we have concentrated on major installations and the institutions you are talking about. It's not by mistake, or it's not that the terrorists have ignored us, but it's because we have dominated. They know we are there. Whereas we are with them, or we are working, they also monitor our operations. They are here.
The same message goes to other public places.
That story leads us to our discussion platform, and tonight we ask, What should government do to protect university students in Uganda in the event of a terrorist attack? What should government do to protect university students in the face of a terrorist attack? And to do this, you can join us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/WBSTV Uganda, and let's get talking. Government continues to lose over 100 billion shillings in maintaining vehicles in all ministries, resulting from the misuse and abuse of public service standing orders by government officers who misuse the vehicles for unofficial and self-interest activities. Civil society organizations are concerned that such monies would rather be invested in assuring quality service delivery instead of the maintenance of the huge fleet of government vehicles that are mismanaged by irresponsible public officers.
Led by Uganda Data Network, UDN, the civil society organizations set a symposium to discuss the misuse of government vehicles by government officials and at the end leave the burden to taxpayers. At the symposium, the head of traffic, Dr. Stephen Kasima, presented a paper on Uganda Police's experience, challenges and lessons in management of government vehicles. He says he has achieved up to over 50% in fighting the abuse of government vehicles within the police force.
For the last 2 years, accidents involving police vehicles have decreased by 51%. There were an increase. Very soon we are going to launch our report for the media, crime report of last year, very soon. There is a section for that. You will see how the percentage decrease or increase on misuse of government vehicles in terms of those that have got accidents.
The law on the public service standing order states that all public officers are bound by this law, and ignorance of any provision cannot in itself be accepted as an excuse for infringement of any part in the standing orders. Kasima says all drivers must be punished equally.
4 DPCs were directed to repair, they did it. Regional CID from one region, he also repaired. One in its OC fire, repaired. Some go and sell their part of their land, they rent from their fathers.
But being a police officer heading traffic, Dr. Kasima is very concerned with the drivers from the midst of water, who he says are much unruly.
That ministry responsible for water has indisciplined drivers. Where is works? The ministry which is supposed actually to be overseeing all of this. Because the chief mechanical engineer is the one. Does he, for instance, test the drivers before they are sent to drive government vehicles? Because when you read the standing order, he is supposed to be testing them, accrediting them, and retesting them every year, if not twice a year.
The civil society organizations are concerned at the huge expenditure of over 100 billion shillings in maintaining a huge fleet of government vehicles for the financial year 29-2010 would rather be invested in improving service delivery, especially in education and health.
There was massive increased awareness about the illegality of using government vehicles by wrong parties for wrong reasons at wrong places and at wrong times.
Our ideas would inform the national budget proposals that are being put together, and one of the strategies so far we are considering is what would it take, for instance, for government to do leasing of vehicles as opposed to outright purchase and ownership of such vehicles.
In a comparative analysis, 100 billion shillings could construct 12,500 classrooms to accommodate 625,000 pupils for UPE program, whereas government spends 7,260 per pupil per term and the UPE program. 100 billion shillings would support 17,200 UPE schools of 800 pupils each for a whole year. This means 13 million pupils in Uganda would access education for a whole year. While in the health sector, 1 billion would be sufficient to purchase essential drugs for 9,000 health center threes around the country for 1 year. And on average, a population of 34 million people would require 17 million mosquito nets to fight malaria, which means government could spend only 85 billion shillings to purchase the mosquito nets and save Ugandans from malaria. The civil society organizations now recommend that government officials who have so far been in a breach of the public service standing orders on vehicles should be disciplined by their superiors accordingly. Stephen Mwiri, WBS News.
We now cross over to Mubende, where gold miners there have engaged in running battles with the police following an eviction order presented to them by a registered mining company by the Ministry of Energy known as Chitumbi Kayonza Miners Association that claimed rights to the gold mining belt that miners have been in possession of for ages.
Miners here accuse proprietors of the Chitumbi Kayonza Miner Association of hiring private guards to arrest them as well, mounting roadblocks in the way leading to the mining belt with the intention of blocking them from ferrying sand they use in the mining of gold. The sand in question is ferried to a machine that does the sieving, but this time round, even accessing the machine was a hassle. They also alleged that every time they are arrested by the hired guards, they are flogged and beaten, and at times the guards threaten to shoot them. Revealed that the owners of Chitumbi Kayonza Miners Association often charge them 10,000 to 50,000 shillings for an identification card, which acts as a pass card to the gold mining belt. But this morning, the gold miners in Mubende said enough is enough to this kind of savage. The scuffle started by removing the roadblocks that had been mounted by the private security guards. This was later followed with running battles.
Lwaki batugane eno batuzze ekiriyo ekyokubiri balandiroodi baffe wano be batugoba kampani yetugoba kampuni yagula kyalo kiramba yagulako gundi waayo tebatubulya kaderagawo olaba batukwata wano ne batusibira wali mu baagala kaadi kootuuka wali mukomera bakujjako emitwalo 5 mu ya kaadi mpisaawo wano omukyanga owa poliisi yankokingidde emundu ng'ayagala oba kunkuba simanyi twe twana yaawo ne batugoba ne batuddayo emabega ginaitidde mu nsiko ng'okwe Kenya tetumanyi oba eri Uganda oba eno Kenya batuyambeko abasajja kampuni ebereyi yaabwe bokka.
The OC of Lubali, who attempted to calm down the situation, was also accused of conniving with officials from Chitumbi Kayonza Miners Association to kick them out of the mining belt. They alleged that the police officer often received kickbacks from the owners of the association.
Abantu bano abaruwa soke tumanye kampuni kikyeyagala bajje babuulira abantu n'abantu basomesebwe.
The manager of Kayonza denied the accusation leveled against his guards but pointed a finger to miners in illegal trade of mercury.
Naye twatadde gate the boundaries za license ya Chitumbi Kayonza Association. Era Chitumbi erina obligation kuba nti ekolera mu mateeka. Bano batiza nti balina obligation okukolera mu mateeka. Oba wawulidde goli bagenda bakola. Naye bano balina license, zi license actually certain.
Upon this gold mining belt of Kabali here in Mubende has over 5,000 miners.
We cross over to Mukono, where the Uganda National Bureau of Standards has carried out an operation there on shops and dealers who sell expired bread to clients.
This is the operation carried out by UNBS officials on trying to arrest suppliers and retailers who sell expired bread to consumers in Center Town, Goma Sub-County, Mukono District. The operation, headed by Dennis Odur of UNBS Quality Assurance, managed to to impound a vehicle alleged to be supplying bread from Tuwereza Bakery, which are expired despite having UNBS labels.
Surely, UNBS certified the products and they give them the mark, like this one, the S mark. But when this mark is there, there are some guidelines you are supposed to follow. Now, if this guideline is missing and you have fixed the marks of certification on your product, then UNBS will have to follow up on this case.
The operation continued to nearby shops where they managed to impound bread without expiring dates indicated on them.
Okusingira ddala expired date bulamu bw'abantu bulamu bwaki kubanga omwami atugambye yagula omugaati ogutuusa waka nga gulimu n'empumbu tetumanyi kubanga yaleeta mugaati buli nnaku abadde agula wamugaati awo watugambye
obadde omanyi n'amuwadde wano mufu n'amuwadde mulamu bwayononokedde eyo.
But the residents in Seta oppose the operation carried out by UNBS officials, saying that they do not see anything wrong with the bread that they are impounding.
Omugati mulamu nnyo ssebo. Omugati mufu. Omugati mulamu ssebo. bagende mu factories babagambe mudire ebyokulya bye muteekeko ki expired date okusinga okujja eno babinoonye mu bano badde bamanyi oba se kyo bayise akalango ku radio oba ku tv gibannange temuddamu kugula bintu bitaliiko ki expired date.
Baali badde waakiri nti baba ne agent mu company akakasa nti ebintu byafumizza biriko expired date. Okusinga kati tebalinayo muntu ate bajja eno wansi ffe gye tukola ki gye tugulira emigaati gye batandise okukola ki so ekintu kye baali basobola kicontrollingira eri nga bakyali eri ku company.
Sarah Nantongo, an official from UNBS, warned all shops selling bread without expiring dates indicated on them that they will be arrested and penalized together with suppliers and manufacturers as a way of eliminating expired products from the market.
We now revert to our opinion poll question, and tonight we ask, what should government do to protect university students in Uganda in the face of terrorist attacks, given now they are the prime targets? Taking a look at some of your thoughts here on Facebook, John Chris Kamba, you say should deploy police together with the army. What's taking them so long? Athabi Aruhanga, you say deploy police officers in the school main gates, even in the toilets. Henry Chiwa Sendege, you say for sure there is no security at Chambogo. It is the place where traffic jam is high. When traffic jam is high along Ginger Road, then the university becomes a shortcut to Ntinda, which makes it extremely unsafe. And finally, for now, Patrick Makumbi, you say terrorists do not depend on one target. Remember, one time all eyes were at the stadium next to taxi parks and then supermarkets. So it is important that every area is taken as a priority. Well, do feel free to add your thoughts to this conversation on Facebook at www.facebook.com/WBS TV Uganda. This is WBS Prime News Live, our top stories. The way of the cross as the Lent period ends. Gold miners on strike in Mubende district against